What's up? We're live, everybody. How's it going, Richard and Michael? Thank you guys for being here.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having us. Pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for having us.
So real quick, for people listening live, jumping on live, I'm talking to Michael Reeves. And did I pronounce your name correctly, Michael?
Yeah.
It could be Reeves.
It could be. But no, Michael Reeves, just like Keanu or
Keanu Reeves.
Superman was George Reeves,
Kind of like Fragile, right?
From the movie. Exactly.
Reeves.
And Michael, you are technical director of MSP and Cloud at Bitdefender, and also yep. I'm told that you are the Foxtail, or that's your name, the Foxtail. Is nickname.
Maybe that could be, but yeah, I'm a technical director here at Bitdefender. I work directly with Rich, who's also on our call, and I'm kind of the technical eyes and ears for our business. So really happy to be able to talk to you guys today.
It's awesome. And Richard Tallman
yes, sir.
is the Senior Director of Global Cloud Security and MSP at Bitdefender, and is tall.
And I'm tall, yeah.
It's yes, you are.
Yeah, 6'3.5", almost 6'4". Depends on what heels I'm wearing for the day. Just kidding.
Right.
Now, let me ask you a question. As a tall person,
yes, sir.
Do you wish you were taller? Like, I think I feel like everybody always wishes they were just half an inch taller than they really were.
Yeah, that's a great question. I had aspirations to be on the Olympic men's volleyball team, and as tall as I am, I could really jump high. Like, I was athletic. I ain't gonna lie. I could touch almost 11.8 jumping, which is like the rim on a backboard's 10 feet and the top is 12. It was always my goal. I don't know if you ever heard those stories of Jordan and like Dominique, where they could jump and put a quarter on top of the backboard.
Yeah.
I always wanted to do that, but 6'3.5". And you look at the Olympic team, they're like 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", 7 foot. They're giant. They're bigger. Yeah. Their average height is bigger than a basketball NBA team, and people don't understand that. It is. Yeah. That's one thing you can't teach is height, right? So, yeah,
it's nuts, isn't it? Like, when you meet professional athletes, I've met a few professional athletes, and they're big dudes a lot of times. Like, even I met a few baseball players, and I was like shocked at how big they were.
Solid.
Yeah. Like big, solid. Like literally. Yeah. I met Mike Katza, who was like standing in a doorway, and he had to kind of scrunch himself to get through it because he's so large, like
big people, and solid and fat. And it's like they've got the whole package. It's just
which is why they're being paid millions.
Has that too, and it's like, and they have like a 5.100 GPA. Like, what? How do you have all of that?
That's crazy. Yeah, well, I always wished I was a little bit taller. Like, that's what, like, I'm just like a quarter of an inch under 6 foot, so when you go to the doctors, they're always like, you're 5'11" and 3/4 of, or, some weird number. It's like, can't you just round it up to 6 foot? Like, it just sounds cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, we didn't come here to talk about height.
Yeah, I know. Let's get out of
it. So I got a little sidetracked. But thank you guys for being here. Really appreciate it. And the reason I wanted to have you guys on here is doing a little bit of a series with other vendors in the space, other channel partners, and vendors in the space. That was the correct term that I was trying to use. It's Friday, guys, so I'm not.
Oh yeah.
My wires are not completely firing on all cylinders. Not that they ever really are, but it's even worse on Friday. So anyway, I wanted to have you guys here because I like bringing on folks who sell the technical things to the technical people, which is what you do. You sell a technical service solution to technical folks who then sell it to their customers. The MSPs sell it to their. Now, I'm going to play the part of the silly little SMB, the guy who knows no tech. I'm totally the opposite of technical, right? I'm a sales and marketing person, so I'm like a walking EMP. I touch something, it like stops working. If it's electrical, I can make it stop working. So I know nothing about this. And what we try to teach what we try and teach our community is to sell something, you have to make it as simple as possible. And you are selling something as an MSP. You know, you guys have deep technology experience. You're selling something that's complex, but the SMB doesn't understand it. And if you start speaking in Vulcan, their eyes are going to glaze over. They're not going to understand what you're talking about, and you're going to potentially lose the sale. So what I want to do is invite you guys to pitch me and teach me what you do as if I was the buyer, not the MSP buyer, but the SMB buyer, right? Because I don't, and I've heard of the company, but I couldn't explain what you do, and I don't know. Do I need it? You know, so I'm going to play the part of, you know, I'm the end user, and I want to understand what you do. And I think this is instructive for those listening. They're teaching you here how to sell their service to your customer, to your prospect. So take it away, guys. What the heck do you guys do?
Rich Tallman, obviously, it's highly suggest, right? People write things down. And my wife's got her master's in clinical psychology. She's thinking about getting her doctorate, but pen to paper, right? Put pen to paper. Because as soon as you commit something through that pen in your hand and your brain, and you put something down on paper, it becomes real. And I would recommend that people that are in the field, if they're an MSP, right? We cherish them. A lot of them are so smart. Mike and I are engaged with them every day. We learn so much from them that if they can take pen to paper and create that 30-second sales pitch, that 2-minute sales pitch, the 5-minute sales pitch, and then they can go deeper in that. They've really got to learn that, right? So if I were to do if I'm just doing a sales pitch, right? I'm a sales guy. I've been doing it forever. It's that pen to paper. Who am I, right? Hey, I'm Rich Tallman. I'm with Bitdefender. We've been around for almost 21 years, I can say. I like to say we're the largest security company you might not have even heard of. So, I can't tell you the stats of how many millions upon millions of endpoints we protect today, but we do it very simply, right? We do it simply, but not too simply, where we protect both the front end on a proactive basis through tunable machine learning, advanced AI, analytics, all the way to the back end on detection and response through a single agent, a single console that can be managed by me, an MSP, let's say, or you, the MSP, and a multi-tenant, right? I can see all of my customers under one console. So we extend those abilities to those MSPs on a very flexible selling model. If they just want antivirus, we can deploy it. If they want full-on detection and response, which I like to call like the crime scene analysis, something happened, I need to see what it was and then revert back and fix it, done, right? That's kind of what Bitdefender is in a nutshell. That's probably about a minute on mine, but Mike, I'm going to give you a shot because you're going to go home from a technical side. So technical selling in third grade approach, go.
Yeah, so I would say from a technical point of view, and the way I kind of explain it is you basically, I look at it from a sports analogy perspective. So in a sports analogy perspective, you've got, we'll just call it a football team. In that football team, you've got 3 phases of the game that they talk about in football. You've got your offense, you've got your defense, and then you've got your special teams. With Bitdefender and with security in general, you basically have 3 phases of the game in security as well. So you've got your offense, your defense, and your special team. Well, what is that from a security perspective? The first thing is your, I call it your defense. That's what we call the prevention layer in security. That is all your automation. That's like, if you think about it, your home or your car, that's where you lock your doors. You do basic security things that work on an automated basis with security. That's kind of your defense. Your offense is what Rich talked about. That's your detection and response. That's where you can take action. That's also part of security. And then the third phase of the game is what we call special teams, or risk hardening, or lowering the attack surface of your devices so that it makes it harder to break into those devices. So with Bitdefender, what's unique about Bitdefender in this industry is that we cover all 3 phases of the security game. There's very few vendors, if any others, that do all three phases of the game. You'll find someone that does, let's say, defense. You'll find another vendor that does offense. You'll find another vendor that does special teams. And the challenge then for you to implement all of those is that you have to integrate all of that stuff, and it becomes very overwhelming for most customers. So what Bitdefender does is we've already integrated all three phases of the game. You deploy our product, you can click in our management UI, or we give you default kind of policies that you can implement, and you're covered in all three phases of the security game with our product. So that's kind of Bitdefender in a nutshell. I usually liken it to sports, and usually everybody resonates with that type of analogy.
Yeah, I love that. That's so, when you're building a you're working in a category that has many competitors, many complementing businesses, right? Like that do similar things, and then many businesses that maybe work together with you. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys cover everything, but I know, MSPs, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. That's the whole point of this, is to, I'm the SMB. I'm confused. I'm not, I don't understand this technology stuff. It's confusing to me. So I want you to treat me that way, so that the listeners, the viewers can understand how they would deal with objections, deal with confusion, and talk in a way that the end user, the prospect customer can understand. So, but getting to category, in busy category, you really have to separate yourself and to rise above everybody else. You have to have a great story that nobody else can tell.
Yep.
And I really like that number one, it's puts it in a way that I can completely understand. Okay, well, I'm going to have offense and defense and special teams.
Right.
With Bitdefender.
Yep.
Very visual, which I love. It uses a story that I can understand, and it's definitely, I give you guys high marks. I love that. I've heard you say that, and that was one of the things that sparked me. I was like, man, that's a great way to explain that.
Yeah.
Something that's very confusing.
Yeah. And also, especially if you're not in the security industry and you're just like a business owner, you can have the greatest defense and spend millions of dollars on a defense. And some football teams do that. They have a phenomenal defense, but they can't win games. And so or you can spend all your money on an offense and you don't win games because you don't have a defense, or you lack special teams. The teams that rise to the top in the football world are the teams that can do all three phases of the game well. They might have a specialized piece, like where they may be really invested in their defense or really invested in their offense. I don't know very many that really invest, like their core competency is their special teams. But they all have to have a good special teams in order to win. And that's, I think, what resonates with people is, in the security industry, there's lots of vendors that focus on one of those three phases of the game. And that's where Bitdefender becomes a very easy sell for what most businesses, is that we cover all three phases of the game. And also, we are very good at all three phases of the game. It's not like our defense is horrible or our offense is horrible. Like, we do a really good job in all three phases of the game, and really simplifies your life. Normally, you've got to deploy multiple different products to do what Bitdefender does just out of the box. And that's what most people find about our product, and they really like it and tell us. We're kind of known for word of mouth advertising. That's how Bitdefender kind of grows.
And I was going to say also, and to add to that, Mike, is that we view our MSPs as our partners, right? They're extended partners. They're the general manager of that team.
Right.
So who are they going to put in the field of play, right? When it comes time to battle and go offense or defense or special teams, they're the ones in charge. They know their customers better than anybody, right? And again, we're maybe 1/17 of a total solution going into the legal firm, right? That they might be protecting, or the dental firm, right? They might be deploying some office-based products or some imaging products. we're kind of on the back end of that component to make sure it all is secure. So, and I love Mike's analogy again of the home, right? You have your home, you lock your doors at night, right? Yeah, well, you might have, great. How about a deadbolt? The front and the back, the windows, we lock them, an alarm system, maybe cameras out front, lights that go on. That's where Bitdefender is, right? We can lock the doors, right? That's the easy part. We can add cameras. We can add, boom, we can even put a dog, right, inside the house or out in the backyard to really fend people off. So we've kind of got those multiple layers and flexibility, but we really rely upon our MSPs to be the general manager of the team to make sure that they can go and build that relationship. Because, you know, Mike talks about a team, you know, you got to keep the teammates happy. You got to keep the offense happy. You got to keep the defense happy. You got to keep the special teams happy too. And we view them as our extension to that end user, right? To keep that end user happy and secure and working, right? Because if it ain't working on the front end, we all hear about it real quick. So, yeah.
Right. All right. I'll give you a real world example and ask you a question because this just happened to me.
Sure.
I'm playing the part of the dumb, non-technical person. So I'm on my phone here and I'm on Facebook and I'm looking through stuff and I see this news article, you know, on the news section of Facebook that you scroll through. And I'm like, oh, I want to see that story. And I click on the story and this pop-up comes up at me and says, I've won something from Google. Google has selected me to, and I'm like, what the heck is this? This was supposed to be a story about cats and dogs or something, whatever news story it was. And it looked, you know, it was a real headline, something that was ripped from the news. So that's some bad stuff on my phone, right? Like I need something.
Yeah. I mean, I would say anytime you are on the internet, so whether that's on your phone, whether that's on a desktop, laptop, whether that's on a computer in a library, it doesn't matter. Whenever you're online, you need some security protection for your identity, for your conversation or the data exchange that happens there online. And the internet works because it's a connected place. You know, you're entering an area which everyone pretty much by default has access to everyone else. So think about, like, going back to the home analogy, think about the security implications if everyone in the world could have access to your house and your family and everything else, and they could just walk up and do whatever they want to you. That's the way it is online. So I'm a big proponent of security. We call them controls, or just basic kind of security that you want. So one is just paying attention, which it sounds like you're doing, which is like, this is odd. Like, why is this happening? That's actually a really good security practice, is just to be a little bit non-trusting of what you're seeing. That's the first thing. Be observant. That's another thing. Two, you know, the security industry practices, you know, or preaches, you know, have strong passwords. Don't use the same password on multiple websites. I'm constantly talking to my family about this. You know, what your Facebook login should be different than your bank login, because if they compromise your Facebook login, they can log into your bank as you and do lots of damage. So have different passwords, have them complicated. And I'm a big proponent of tokens. A lot of the sites now allow them to send you a text message to your phone to verify what you have. We call that two-stage verification, or multi-factor authentication is what the industry calls it. However you implement that, that's a great security practice, so that they can determine exactly who you are and give you access to the resources you want. It would be like, you know, person A coming into your house and your wife looks at them and says, I've never seen that face before in my entire life. I don't know who they are. And then you escort them out of your house. You know, you probably won't ask me because I may forget a face or a name or whatever. You ask my wife, she knows exactly who you've met, what they were wearing, what their name is, things like that. You want that kind of verification. So whenever online, those are kind of the principles that you want to behave. And then you extend that security kind of practice with tools like Bitdefender and others that can secure various devices, but those aren't the end all be all.
So that's not enough, right?
Yeah, humans are the weakest link of any security practice. It's the humans, right? Because you can have, as Rich talked about, the greatest security systems in the world in your house. But if somebody knocks on your door and your youngest child opens up the door and lets them in, you know, that's the humans just, we're the weakest link. So a lot of thought can go into training employees and training business people on just basic security practices that are really really critical.
And we do some of that, Mike, inside, right? Because
absolutely.
We know MSPs can't be experts in all things. It's hard. I mean, there might have been a day back in 2005 where I was a server guy and I could load this application on this server and that was it. And then virtualization comes and I've got 80 servers now running on that same server, right? Now I got to back it up and I've got another site and things just expand and it's like it was all dumped on the one person. And then that office can't afford the IT person, so it's got to go outside to the MSP, and we rely on those MSPs to be the trusted experts. Well, they're not experts in everything, so we try and come alongside them through our platform and provide them simple things like risk analysis, right? You can see the endpoint. You can see the factors of what's going on within that endpoint, and we're going to provide tools to fix it, to increase score. And behind the endpoint, human risk analysis, right? The risk analysis of a human behind the endpoint, things like passwords and all these other things. Hey, this guy's got a pretty bad score, and this is why. We lay it out for them so it makes their job easier, right? We're talking about simplifying the solution. We try and simplify it for them because they have 20 other things to go do, right? So just adding to that, Mike.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you guys are providing a lot of assistance to your MSP partners to help them implement, to help them sell. Am I hearing you right on that?
Yeah, we have a lot of training videos to help learning tools, real simple things on that. It's marketing. You know, we're everywhere. It seems like in events. So we like to meet them face to face, right, at events or even here on your show. You know, that we can meet them and just explain a little bit of what we do and how we can help. Tons of demos, it seems like, but yeah.
Right. Now let me explain. I want to back up even. I want to come back to that, but I want to say, you know, my biggest frustration as an end user, as a person who is not a technology person, is just how much stuff you have to do now. Mm-hmm. Like Michael, you said it, you know, you don't have the same passwords. You know, I use LastPass. I don't even, and I don't even trust that that's secure at this point. Like, is that even secure? I've got, now I bought for the first time, I jumped on, I didn't buy it, but I got gifted an NFT. If for those people who don't, I don't know if everybody knows what that is yet, but an NFT is a non-fungible token, which is like artwork that, I don't even want to go and explain it. But anyway, somebody gave me an NFT and I had to go buy a thing to be able to have an NFT on my computer. And by the way, since I've installed these kind of web 2.0 things like an NFT, I had to have an NFT wallet and a site and a cryptocurrency wallet. Since I've installed those, I've been getting weird text messages. And all sorts of like, and this is not, I mean, spammy things. So that's the only thing new. I got to imagine that these guys, somehow something bad happened. It's like drives you crazy. You can't install anything. I'm not sure if LastPass is even secure. I've got the NFT token thing. I had to literally remember a 10 word phrase. Get into my wallet, right? You have to write it down. They give it to you. You don't even invent it, and you have to write it down. They say lock it up in a lockbox because if you ever lose it, you lose your wallet. and I accidentally said it out loud and activated the Winter Soldier. little meta Marvel joke for anyway.
Yeah, well, it's a digital asset that is accessible online, and what's basically happened to you is you have become a target-rich environment for malicious actors.
Right.
And you're on, and the crazy thing is in this industry,
if I download this piece of software from this trusted source, right? Like I was literally, right, I don't even remember what it was. It was called, I don't want to press it, but it's, something I installed on Chrome. So some third party maybe has access through them somehow to but I'm got to trust that's my online wallet, you know what I'm saying? Like, what the heck?
Read the service agreement and all the terms and conditions that were attached to it that were 48 pages long.
No, of course not.
And they're like, hey, of course not. Data and all your metadata, and we're going to spam the heck out of it. It's like, it's all there.
But
here's the thing: is like I don't know what's real and what's as the end user, and I guess this is what the long story I'm trying to get at is I don't understand as the end user what is benign spam, which is some third party partner of theirs got my phone number, got my email, and they're just sending me messages, or are they spoofing my phone? Is there something that next level of danger where they have access to something deeper, and then maybe there's an even third or fourth level where they have access to your phone and they're spoofing your phone. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what threat level this is. That's how hard it is for the person who's not.
No, I totally get it. It's really that's where I think just being cautious is probably the way. It sounds like you're approaching this correctly. You see that there's various layers or levels of what risk we call in the industry, and at the end of the day, you're at the center of it. And so I think the approach is important. Being just aware of your surroundings is very important, and being conscientious of that. And anything that is anomalous or anything that looks out of place, assume it is, and just don't pursue it. That's one of the big areas, is just don't follow the path. Because you're curious. Curiosity is not really a great quality online. It gets a lot of people into trouble. But just know that the bad guys are very adept at what they do. They have automation, and there's a lot of data about you that is readily accessible by anyone at any time in the globe, whether they're malicious or they're just the great person, that in your life.
Yeah, they're just a marketing company, right?
It's crazy. Like I got rid of Facebook. Like I just got tired of it. And it was just depressing. So I went through the process, and this is a fascinating study in security. And I really encourage everyone to just try it, is go to Facebook and delete your account permanently. Like really go through the process. When you go through that process, you will learn all of the data. So Facebook has to then, when you say, I want to stop this service, they're going to do a couple of things. They're going to say, are you sure? And then once you say, yes, I'm sure, they're going to say, we have all of this data on you. And I mean, you're scrolling through your phone about all of the data that Facebook has on you. And they'll say, we will keep this around if you would like. Or
you probably have to opt out of it, right? Like
you can delete it, but we're not going to delete it. Here's like phase 3. We're not going to delete it for at least, I think it was like 30, 60, or 90 days. I can't remember.
Just in case.
So they keep it around after you say delete it. And then 90 days or 30 days, I can't remember what the time frame was, they'll go ahead and purge their systems of that data. They're required by law to do that. But when I took a look at that list of what they have, and it's not just your identity, it's literally everything about you. What you shop for, your browsing, your everything about you is literally in that list. I was like, oh, I'm never getting on there again, because all of that data, by the way, is shared. And by the way, you know, Rich talked about looking at their privacy and stuff. When you sign up for your platform, you are giving them the ability to present all of that data, not only internally, but to all of their customers and all of their business partners and everything. So it's really scary. It scared the pants off of me, actually, from a security perspective. And I said, I'm never doing that again.
I wonder how many people on this are watching live or will watch the recording are like, oh my gosh.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a great exercise. And now, if you like Facebook, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Facebook or anything like that. That's not the point. The point is, go through the process, delete your account, and then just sign up again if you want to do that. That's totally fine. I mean, but it was really eye-opening.
It is.
I always say garbage in, garbage out, right? So
yeah,
if I put a picture on Facebook or Instagram, I'll tag the wrong people, wrong places, so they can't have my facial, you know, and I'm sure they'll sort. But if in their systems they have, like, you know, Janine Garoppolo, I don't know, is my face. It's like, there you go, system, go have fun with that. But it's scary.
Well, and you're giving them, when you post stuff online, you're giving them the rights to that object.
Yes.
To use however they want, and sell to whoever they want, like all of that stuff. You're giving up in complete rights to all of your stuff.
As a marketing person, I don't know, you know, I like it. Yeah, you can target in ways, especially if you are a retail, like a retail store type thing. It's harder, like business is harder, a little harder to target people on Facebook, but from a more B2C type environment, it's so great because you have such deep data on targeting people as an advertiser. I always loved it. And people, I don't think people realize how deep it is and how far it goes. I mean, literally if you have Facebook on your phone, they can hear everything you say, and they are listening to your phone calls. They are, you know, when you are out there, they know where you go, right? They have geolocation, so they know you've gone to this store. They know you've gone to this place. They know you're over here. They know how long you're there. There are so many data points that they have on us that it is.
So let me throw this back to you guys, right? So what are we giving kids in schools, right? They're all getting points, and they you know, or if you're at dinner, how many times do you see a kid with a tablet? Doing their thing, and they don't have the same gauges, right? On the mental scale, like the childhood development, right? Going back to my wife's stuff, they're not at a level where they can see something as risky, right? And yet we give them this stuff, like, here you go, here's a phone, right? How many times, and then at school, there's no education, right? They don't know what to do. They just want to teach these kids. There's no education around a phone and what you can and can't take pictures of, right? Because now you have cyberbullying, right? And what's classified as cyberbullying, you got to go deep into it and say, wow, this is like against the law. Like, and they don't know. They're just kids. No education. And it gets real scary real quick. And it's real. Like it's not a toy, right? I would say an endpoint, a phone, a tablet, they're not toys, right? Don't use them as toys. Don't use them to, just my suggestion, don't give them to your kids, because it's not a toy, straight up.
And I would think that's an easy way in from a security perspective, because it all comes back to the fact that at the end of the day, there's nothing out there that's 100% going to, like, I can't go and download Bitdefender on my phone and then start acting like an idiot and clicking on things and hope, well, I have Bitdefender, so now I can click on whatever I want. I got this, you know, somebody in you know, Nigeria wants to a prince wants me to send him money. Like I can't do that. Right. Like, so now you're giving it to your kids, you're giving it to people who don't maybe have education on cybersecurity at all. That's the easy access, right?
Yeah. Well, and it's not just education, but like my kids, your kids' generation, they've grown up with technology. They've never not known technology. And what I find is with that generation, they completely trust technology.
Yep.
So when I talk to them about, like, they want everything integrated and they want simplicity, so they'll just give away everything they are online, and because it's easy, it's integrated. Like I'll say you need to have a password on just basic stuff. No, I don't want to enter a password.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. But are you sure you want your entire life open to the world? Yeah, I don't care. The whole idea of connectedness and interconnectedness with the next generation, it is a cyber criminal's dreamland. It's like, only going to get worse.
What are the
problems are going to magnify over the next 20, 50 years. It's going to be crazy.
It's going to be crazy. And like the social, even the apps for kids in high school, junior high, college, I want my friends to find me.
Exactly.
It's like literally giving these people your facial recognition, where you shop, where you are. They can find, I can find you right now, So it'll be an interesting world to see. And it's almost like a new business of how do you patch that component to keep someone secure, their digital ID secure, right? And I will say, let me correct you, Mike. There is an ultimate solution. Just cut the cord and walk away and go live in the mountains.
Right? Yeah, just stop logging in.
Yeah, you can do that. I mean, even you think about now, like self-driving cars, and I'm not against the technology. I'm just thinking about, oh, wow, we now have moving vehicles that we are thinking about driverless,
right,
that are always connected.
Yep.
And that, I'm thinking, oh, wow, we are getting to the point where, it's just.
Well, and Mike, take it further, right? Always connected, and think about the privacy component. I never gave that the right to record me, right? So at what point do I give that up, right? Yeah. Well, you in this city, you check the box, right? So there's a lot of gray area. I don't know. Maybe we should all go back to law school. And
I have a young cousin who just became an attorney, and he is where he's working in New York, really great law firm, and he's trying to figure out, what's the next step. And his father is a CIO for years.
Yeah.
And he said, go into cyber law, man.
Oh, totally.
Go into cyber.
Yeah.
It's an all new world. It's crazy, and I don't want to steer this too far off this interesting conversation. Mm-hmm. The whole cryptocurrency, NFT, Web 3.0, how much do you think, and I don't know if you guys have studied this or incorporated this whole new kind of world of Web 3.0 into what you're doing, but that's a whole nother thing that's going to add some big layers of complexity. And I guess what I want, a lot of the people who are excited about it are excited because they say it's a decentralized thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's not one company. It's not a Facebook who's controlling everything. It's all decentralized across. But to me, that reminds me of how the web was when it first started. And that's going to happen again. There's always a central power. There's always something that rises up and controls all the marbles. Yeah. Do you think this is going to be what they say it's going to be, or what people project as in a more happier, secure, less invasive in your life, or is that wrong?
I know I've thought about this. I think that it's an interesting topic, because what's happening is I think it offers some value, but I think it's not the panacea that everybody thinks it is. because like you said, what's going to happen is as it starts to be implemented on a wider scale, there's going to be various actors that are going to manipulate that and establish new controls, and then we'll evolve into something else.
There's still a platform, right?
Yeah.
Still something in that platform. There's still data and privacy and critical information, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I like it. I like it from a security perspective.
Yeah.
The implementation of it, and that's going to be that'll determine how ubiquitous it becomes.
Yeah.
But once it becomes ubiquitous, people are going to find ways around it and manipulate it. And, so I like the technology. I think it offers a ton, but I don't think it's not the panacea that everybody claims it to be.
Yeah. Going back to the analogy, like, sports analogy, winners win, right? Great teams win. Criminals steal. That's an old job, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what they're doing. Right? They're stealing stuff, and they're stealing your privacy, your information. Have you ever had your credit card ripped or stolen? Anybody gotten your credit card or your debit card? Yeah, it sucks. It's scary. Like, what do you mean? My wife, we got a call, great store here in Arizona called Ride Now, and my birthday was like the next day. And I get this, my wife's like, hey, what? And I got a call from my credit card company, and it's like, $734 at Ride Now. And I'm like, my wife's buying. I don't have motorcycles. I mean, it is, but okay, I'll take that as a gift. And so I call her like, I just got to ask you a question, But what about that layer of the bank, right? The trusted source. If they don't call me, right? They still got away with a bunch of stuff, but now I'm on the hook for it. So yeah, it's an interesting world.
Crazy. Wow. Yeah. That's a good conversation. It's interesting. I didn't mean to take it off into Web 3.0.
No,
it's going to be, but
it is, right? Because this is what all the MSPs are dealing with.
Yeah.
If you put it back and you sit in their shoes, what's the need they have? Again, we have to simplify the security component. We need to give them the power of, protecting rockets in space. So we're shooting we have to do that for that MSP, if it's 2 seats or 2 endpoints at a dental office, or if it's 15,000, they still need the same protections, right? So we have to give that to them, and they're faced with that on a daily basis, not with one customer. They might have hundreds of customers, right? So that's where Bitdefender really comes alongside them. And we get it, right? I ran a partner for 9 years. I get it. I've been in their shoes. It can be overwhelming and scary, but it's, at the end of the day, if you can assemble the right team and your right trusted partners, your offense, your defense, your special teams, it helps, right? It really helps.
Yeah. Do you guys see anything coming that they need, MSPs need to be aware of, that they may not realize is on the horizon, or anything that is, like new dangers, new tools that they need, new things that they may not be thinking about?
We have a labs team up in Cluj, Romania. The smartest people. The guy who runs it, Dragos, he wrote his own operating system for one of his PhDs, right? But they're
one of his PhDs.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the whole thing. And then we have what we call the Draco unit, right? They work directly with police forces. If it's Interpol or FBI or DOJ around the world or countries, right? They're working directly with these people to thwart that energy, and that same resource and energy, and the data scientists that we have on staff that are seeing these things and what's coming that they haven't seen before, right? All of that gets interjected back into our software around the world. So we can give, again, the same stuff that we're protecting 100,000 endpoints with for the guy who's sitting in his chair, who has just his desktop, right? To me personally, I've thought about this. I've thought about this a lot, like what's next? Because a lot of times they take the same stuff and they redeploy it. However, what I've seen now that they have all this data in one spot, I've seen the social component, right? It's like this real world. How can I take this, and how can I take their social component and manipulate it to steal, right? And influence others to gain access and to basically rip someone off, right? So I can imagine that the criminals are already doing that, right? Because they are very smart and they know what they're doing. So how do you protect that, right? How do you protect that? You got to go back to, like Mike said, the two-factor authentication. You make it hard. You put multiple locks on your door. You have an alarm. You make it hard, right? Because if you can make it hard enough for them to walk away and go to your neighbor's house, let them go to your neighbor's house, right? Yeah. Make it hard for them. Give them layers so they have to jump the wall. They get to the wall, there's a dog, there's a light, there's an alarm, right? Make it difficult.
Yeah, I like that. Make it more difficult so that they go somewhere else. That's why you lock your doors to your house. That's why you have an alarm system. You know, it doesn't prevent someone who really wants to get into your house. They have the ability, they've got the time, energy, money, focus, they're going to get into your house. But I look at, and the same thing is true in the cyber world as well. And I think you want to ask, well, a couple of thoughts that I think about. One, I think the industry, is really centering or kind of coalescing on a principle that security is kind of a team sport. It's people, businesses, vendors, partners coming together to help secure environments. And you know, we've got to stick together. I think that's kind of principle number one, that it's a team sport. So all of your partners, vendors, you know, manufacturers that you deal with, hopefully they're all thinking about security, and by all of them raising their security posture just a little bit, really makes your environment a little bit more secure. So that's kind of the first thing that I think about. The second thing that I think about is, you know, you got to be able to ask and answer, you know, kind of two questions in this area. Number one, if someone really wanted to break into my business, would I be able to know? Like, that's question number one. Will I know that? Or can they break into my business, steal something from me, or hold me hostage or whatever, and I just won't know? So that's kind of your first question. So, and then the second question is, will I be able to respond to defend my environment? So those are the two kind of critical security questions from a business perspective is, will I know? And number two, can I respond?
Yeah.
And if you can answer the yes to both of those questions, then you've got some work to do for your environment. I mean, that's kind of brass tacks, like basic questions that if you cannot answer yes to both of those questions, then you've got some work to do. Now you may say, yes, I'll know, and you might not know because they're just really good. Like the bad guys may be really good at what they're doing. So they may be able to get around all of your detections and all that stuff. But at your heart of hearts, in your core, you got to be able to answer yes to those two questions. If not, then I think you need to look at Bitdefender and other security companies to kind of help you and be able to answer yes to both of those questions. I think that's kind of the rubber meets the road there.
Mike, going back to your question too, on what we see, antivirus isn't good enough anymore.
Right. Yep.
Right. So if somebody's leading, I'm antivirus. That's great. Right. So what else you got? You know, so it's talking about that entire stack of somebody getting close to your house. You should know, right? If they're walking up my driveway, can I see them? Right. So you want that prevention layer included all the way to the point where they're knocking on the door, they're through the door, they're in there and they're back and they found something, they're stealing Twinkies from the cupboard, or they're at your safe, right? You need to have that entire layer, right, through a system, and that entire kill chain, we call it, right? The entire kill chain. And if the MSPs can walk in very simply to their customers and expose the kill chain threats that are weak, it's a pretty easy discussion. Look, I can help you secure from a preventative standpoint all the way to detecting and responding to ensure that an alarm's going to go off and we're going to save your critical IP or your intellectual property, right? We're going to save it. So that's what we've seen. It needs to have more than just one thing, right? The beauty of Bitdefender is that we have more than just one thing inside of one thing. So it's kind of cool. You know, it's really not just one product. We make it really simplified. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. There's 50 plus things inside of this. And I'm trying to simplify it inside of one agent, right? So that's kind of the beauty there.
Yeah.
Right. And it comes back to your analogy on that sports, you know, the offense, defense, which I keep coming back to. It's very visual, great way to explain it. Love it.
Right.
Michael, what you said about, you know, those questions, I would imagine those are the same questions you would coach your MSPs to talk when they're in that sales situation. That's your discovery. That's your great piece. That was really great. I love it. Guys, tell me how folks can learn more about you guys and what kind of stuff you got out there that people can dive into to learn how to sell what y'all do.
We've got, you know, bitdefender.com is primary, right? That's our global resource site. You can go there. We do have a lot of training videos, right? So if you can go in there, there's a lot of training videos that you can learn more, potentially how to protect yourself, or have Bitdefender, how to use Bitdefender, right? Because it is pretty simple. We like to say, you know, the Einstein simplified, but not too simple, right? It is a simplified solution, but we really can protect the entire solution. So bitdefender.com, probably the easiest place. LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn. Mike's on LinkedIn. You know, I wouldn't look for Mike on Facebook, but
I'm not there. I'm not there anymore.
Did you guys know? Did you know that you can actually download your entire Facebook history? So, hey, if you don't want to play on Facebook anymore, go download your entire history, and you can load it up on whatever social network you go to. Or
Yeah.
Facebook. There's a part 2 to this discussion that we could just keep going. It's a rabbit.
It is really.
I would say YouTube's a great resource for us as well. We do a lot of videos on YouTube. We've got a partner website that we call Partner Advantage Network. So if you are a partner of Bitdefender, there's training there, there's marketing materials there. Also, you can lean on your distribution partners as well. We work very closely with lots of distribution and RMM, PSA kind of tools. So you can learn about Bitdefender that way. And then we do a lot of webinars. Bitdefender does a lot of security webinars as well. So we're trying to get the word out. But one thing about Bitdefender is, like, we're a very hardcore, I call it the hardcore security company. Like, over half of our employees are actually security kind of engineer kind of types. So we don't do a lot of the marketing stuff. We're getting a little better at it. But yeah, check with your partners, check online with YouTube, check in the Partner Advantage Network, go to bitdefender.com. You can find us. And then also, I would encourage you to ask around, because partners and customers that use Bitdefender love us, and they're great. We've got great word of mouth, you know, attestation from customers and partners like yourself that are using our product, and they swear by it. So that I would also encourage you to find out about Bitdefender that way as well.
Cool. Well, I'll just throw the URL up here one more time, bitdefender.com. Guys, thanks so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. I know we could talk about web. We'll do another show on Web 3.0.
That's fun.
MSPs and cyber.
We can get one of our guys from the Bitdefender labs, right? Because they see the active threats every single day. It's scary. Or somebody sock. Yeah, it's scary.
It's nuts. I would love to hear what keeps them up at night. That's a whole nother conversation, right? Like crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for being on here, guys. Thank you everybody for listening. And until we meet again, keep on elevating IT.